Leave heads hang, cold iron collar, under the mud we crawl. Heavy, buried deep under the frost. The clock stopped ticking now. Silence.
Mysterious hoarse voice and suspense. In December 1991, at 7:32 p.m. Moscow time, a red flag was lowered from the Kremlin and replaced with the tricolor of Russia. It happened quietly. No invasion, no final battle, no dramatic last stand, just fabric descending against a winter sky. But that moment did not begin in 1991. It began in 1917. It began in 1905. It began in the private humiliations of peasants, in frozen bread lines, in trenches filled with conscripts who no longer believed in the war they were dying for. The Soviet Union did not simply collapse, it completed a cycle. And the deeper question lingers: was it ever stable, or was it always moving toward that winter evening? In 1905, the Russian Empire cracked psychologically before it cracked politically. Workers marched toward the Winter Palace believing the Tsar would hear them. He did not. Gunfire replaced dialogue. The myth of the little father protector died in the snow, yet the regime survived. That survival planted something more dangerous than revolt: resentment deferred. By 1914, war stretched the empire thin. By February 1917, hunger and exhaustion overtook fear. Nicholas II abdicated. Centuries of Romanov rule dissolved in days. But power vacuums do not stay empty. In October 1917, a small, disciplined Bolshevik faction led by Vladimir Lenin seized control in Petrograd. It was not a mass uprising, it was a calculated incision into a weakened body. The promise was radical: peace, land, bread. The ambition was greater: redesign society from its foundations. In 1922, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics was formally proclaimed. The date mattered because it symbolized rupture. This was not Russia reborn. This was history reset. The leadership believed that economics could engineer consciousness, change property relations, and you change the human mind. But the civil war that followed the revolution left devastation. The new economic policy reintroduced limited market elements to stabilize collapse. The contradiction emerged immediately. To preserve the socialist experiment, it borrowed from capitalism. Was this pragmatism or the first fracture? When Lenin died in 1924, uncertainty spread through the party elite. Joseph Stalin maneuvered quietly. By the late 1920s, he consolidated control. Collectivization began in 1929. Peasants were forced into collective farms. Resistance was labeled sabotage. Famine followed, most catastrophically in 1932-1933. Industrialization accelerated simultaneously through 5-year plans. Steel output soared, dams rose, entire cities materialized from empty fields. The Soviet Union compressed decades into years, but compression creates pressure. Between 1936 and 1938, the Great Purge eliminated perceived enemies within the party, the military, and society. Confessions were staged, loyalty became theater, fear became structure. Stability appeared on the surface, beneath it, anxiety hardened into habit. In August 1991, a non-aggression pact was signed between Stalin and Hitler. Less than 2 years later, on June 22, 1941, Germany invaded. Operation Barbarossa was not merely a military assault, it was a psychological reckoning. The regime that had terrorized millions now demanded absolute unity. Cities like Leningrad endured siege. Stalingrad became synonymous with attrition. By May 1945, Nazi Germany was defeated. The Soviet flag rose over Berlin. The cost was staggering, tens of millions dead. But victory transformed the regime's legitimacy. The same state responsible for internal repression now stood as Europe's liberator. How does a society process that duality? Trauma fused with pride, sacrifice justified power. The post-war years redrew the map of Europe. Eastern Europe fell within Moscow's influence. The Iron Curtain descended. In 1949, the Soviet Union detonated its first atomic bomb. The United States no longer held nuclear monopoly. The Cold War crystallized into a permanent standoff. The arms race was not simply technological competition, it was a test of endurance. In 1953, Stalin died. The silence after his death was almost louder than his rule. Khrushchev's secret speech in 1956 exposed Stalin's crimes, destabilizing the cult that had sustained obedience. Reform was introduced cautiously, yet when Hungary attempted to leave the Soviet orbit in 1956, tanks intervened. Reform had limits. In 1957, Sputnik entered orbit. A metallic sphere circled Earth, emitting steady beeps that echoed across radios worldwide. It was a symbolic victory. The Soviet system appeared capable of surpassing the West technologically, but space triumph masked structural inefficiencies. By the late 1960s and 70s, under Leonid Brezhnev, stability calcified into stagnation. The leadership aged, economic growth slowed. Oil exports temporarily shielded weaknesses. The system maintained employment and basic security, yet innovation faltered. In 1979, Soviet troops entered Afghanistan. The war stretched on, costly and inconclusive. It echoed older imperial overextensions. Was this defense of ideology or repetition of historical miscalculation? In August 1985, Mikhail Gorbachev assumed leadership. He inherited stagnation, declining productivity, and quiet cynicism. Perestroika aimed to restructure the economy. Glasnost encouraged openness, but openness releases memory. Citizens revisited past famines, purges, concealed disasters. In 1986, the Chernobyl explosion exposed not only radioactive fallout, but institutional secrecy. Trust eroded. In 1989, Eastern European states began to slip from Soviet control. The Berlin Wall fell without Soviet tanks intervening. The pattern shifted. Fear no longer guaranteed compliance. In August 1991, hardliners attempted a coup against Gorbachev. Tanks appeared in Moscow once more, but something fundamental had changed. Citizens did not retreat into silence. The coup collapsed within days. By December 26, 1991, the Soviet Union formally dissolved. 15 republics emerged as independent states. The ideological superpower that had once promised a classless future ended through paperwork and televised announcements. And yet the questions remain. Was the Soviet Union undone by external pressure or by internal contradiction? Did rapid industrialization and wartime victory sow the seeds of future rigidity? The pattern repeats across its history. Crisis produces consolidation. Consolidation breeds stagnation. Reform triggers fragmentation. Each date marks not just political transition, but psychological transformation. 1917 signified belief, 1937 signified fear, 1945 signified sacrifice, 1956 signified doubt, 1986 signified exposure, 1991 signified release and uncertainty. The reward of studying this history is not a simple verdict of success or failure. It is recognition of complexity. The Soviet Union transformed largely agrarian empire into a nuclear superpower within decades. It defeated Nazi Germany. It reached space. It shaped global politics for nearly 70 years, but it could not permanently reconcile centralized control with evolving human expectation. Freedom, once tasted, redefines tolerance for constraint. When the flag descended in 1991, it marked an ending, but also a question. Can any system permanently suppress contradiction, or does pressure always accumulate beneath structure? The Soviet Union proved that ideology can mobilize millions and compress time itself, but it also proved that history cannot be permanently engineered. If you want to continue exploring the rise and fall of civilizations, the patterns beneath power, and the hidden psychology of turning points that shape our world, subscribe to the channel and join us